Hey, what's up? This is Chosen, and this video is going to be a champion guide for Royal Guard, so let's get into it. Alrighty, Royal Guard, let's go ahead and pull it up here. High Elves, and then Royal Guard is the epic attack champion on the far left, Magic Affinity. So yeah, this is Royal Guard, and as for always, with my champion guides, I will have one of these infographics that you can have access to. There will be a link down in the video description for you to pull up and be able to kind of just see a overall all-encompassing view of the current masteries I use for the champion, the stat priorities, and just kind of a general overview. I like to go over the grades and some basic stuff here about this. The campaign, he can do it pretty well, B+, not god tier at the campaign, but is pretty good at farming the campaign and can definitely slot into that role. Clan Boss does have an ability that hits with, max enemy HP and a defense down, so not trash, but definitely not amazing against the Clan Boss. Arena, usable in the early/mid game, but not really known for being good in the arena. Dungeons is where Royal Guard is going to shine. He is viable in a lot of endgame scenario dungeons and has a lot of great utility throughout the early game, mid game, and end game for dungeons. So one of the best epics in the game for dungeons. And then for the stats, crit chance, crit damage are going to be essential because they scale with his best ability, which is takedown, that we'll go over here in a second. So you can get it to hit as hard as possible, and then we're going to need speed, accuracy, and attack. And then, whatever sustain you can get other than that is great. So, alrighty. Let's go over the abilities here. We've got an A1 that attacks one enemy with a 50% chance of placing a 60% decreased defense debuff for 2 turns. That's a very good ability versus bosses. And then this is what Royal Guard is, known for. Takedown. Attack all enemies and damage increases according to max HP. So this is going to scale off of attack and enemy max HP, and the enemy max HP scales much harder than the attack does. It's going to be really similar to like Cold Heart's Heartseeker. It's one of those abilities that's going to hit extremely hard in the end game dungeons. Then we've got the A3 that attacks 4 times at random. Each hit has a 60% chance of placing a 30% decreased speed debuff for 2 turns. Each hit also has a 60% chance of decreasing the target's turn meter by 25%. Now you do need good accuracy for those turn meter debuffs to apply, which a lot of people don't know when they're newer players. So that's why accuracy is a very good substat to get for Royal Guard in terms of that, and also the A1 that applies the decreased defense. Now, in terms of books, we can see that Royal Guard takes 4, plus 4 is 8, plus 4 is 12. Not awful. Most champions take somewhere in that 10 to 15 range for books, especially your epics. You can get lucky and have some that take very few books, but then there's some like Sakara that take like 18. So Royal Guard is fairly middle of the road in terms of books to invest in, but if you're really looking to be budget on your Royal Guard in terms of books, the most important thing is to get this takedown damage up. So, that's your 4 most important books to get, and if you can get some good luck on those, that's your most important one to focus on, is the takedown ability. Royal Guard also has a decent aura, especially for speed farming later in the game. I actually use this aura on a few of my teams. It's a decent endgame aura for speed farming. Increase ally attack in dungeons by 35%. That does unlock at level 3 ascension, so that'll show up once you spend a few potions to ascend Royal Guard. And I will go ahead and pull up my Royal Guard and kind of go over. My Royal Guard is actually kind of interesting. If you notice, my Royal Guard only has the one set. That's so sad, the one little icon here. And you'll notice I'm only wearing 2 pieces of attack gear, and then I have 4 pieces of broken sets. And Royal Guard is actually my highest hero power in the game at 45.8k. So you don't need to have... People really pigeonhole themselves in general when gearing and think like, I have to get a set. My Royal Guard dominates in the end game, and I don't have the perfect set synergies. If a piece is godly, like this chest here, this reflex chest, if a piece is like this, it's going to be good whether it's part of a set or not. Now, obviously, optimally, and in a perfect world, we would want all of our gear perfectly matching and have nice matching sets. But you know, if a piece of gear is godly, don't just not use it because it's not part of a set. If it's going to be on a champion that you're using a lot, get the godly pieces on those champions. So, you know, my Royal Guard doesn't have a lot of sets, but, you know, I was going for the highest amount of crit damage that I could get. You'll see it's a 60 plus 166, very high crit damage with 100% crit, and then the speed to, you know, the most speed I can get to, you know, perform well in my dungeon teams. Normally, in the end game, you're going to want, you know, 160 to 200 speed, somewhere in there for farming those dungeons. In terms of main stats, you know, I went with the crit rate just to get me up to that threshold of critting a lot. And then with the chest, I went attack percent because I play my Royal Guard in kind of a glass cannon way. And, you know, when I was gearing my Royal Guard, my main intention was to get a Spider 20 farming team, and the way it was set up, I just needed to do as much damage as possible. I'll show you that strat in this video. And then obviously, you know, we're gonna go with speed and crit damage on our boots. Important to note that my accuracy is only 107. I would like to get that a little bit higher, and I think, yeah, I need a better banner, but this banner gave me a pretty decent attack and speed. So in terms of my spider farming team, I didn't need the accuracy on my Royal Guard, but for the other dungeons, it can be handy. So that's why the accuracy is a little bit low. If I were using an accuracy banner, honestly, if I had those type of rolls on an accuracy banner, I would use it in a heartbeat, and then my accuracy would be fine. But that's why the accuracy is a little bit low. And let's go also over the masteries here. Alrighty, so this is the current mastery setup I use for my Royal Guard, and this is also down in the video description in the infographic that I made. I went with crit damage because it's gonna scale the best with that takedown ability and help my end game spider strategy. So that was the tier 6 mastery I went for, and then the other stuff is pretty self-explanatory. You can, you know, look over that in your own leisure by clicking the graphic down in the video description. So yeah, I will show you Royal Guard is actually a pretty decent campaign farmer. Alrighty, so let's go here. Let's go Royal Guard. Where are you at? So Royal Guard made my last video where I did top 15 non-legendary campaign farmers. Royal Guard was in there because Royal Guard can definitely slot into that role. Now, again, like I said earlier in the video, Royal Guard is not a god tier campaign farmer by any stretch of the imagination, but he can slot into that role and do it for you. And he's also very good in terms of like 3-starring the campaign. If you're a newer player and you're just looking for a champion that's good to kind of develop, that'll help you 3-star the campaign, Royal Guard can be good at slotting into that role. And even though he's not amazing, he is a decent endgame campaign farmer. And there we go. So we can see that Royal Guard can get it done. And now I want to get into showing the Royal Guard in terms of my endgame spider speed farming strat, which, you know, I think because of his ability that hits off enemy max HP, he's very good in the end game for a lot of these situations. So, you know, in a team setup like this, if you're looking towards the end game spider farming, you know, which obviously not all of you are going to be at yet, and that's fine. You know, you'll get there someday. But Royal Guard can also do pretty well, like before the end game, just in cranking out lots of damage and hitting bosses hard. But if you're curious, just real quick, I'll show you how Royal Guard can also be effective in the end game for me. So we're gonna let our Dracomorph debuff everything, and then we've got our enemy max HP scaling abilities with Cold Heart, Royal Guard, then Cold Heart, and then Cold Heart, and GG. That is your endgame spider strategy that features Royal Guard on my account. And then Royal Guard is also amazing in a few of these potion dungeons. The Arcane Keep, he's awesome. The Void Keep, he's awesome. The Spirit Keep, he's awesome as long as you bring somebody that has heal reduction. The Magic Keep, he is going to be very good as long as you have someone that can steal shields. The Force Keep, he's not nearly as good because he is affinity countered, but he can still do all right as long as you're able to crit and you have a really good crit chance. So yeah, we'll see here. I do have Royal Guard in my in my, you know, Arcane level 15. I've got Royal Guard as the leader. We're going Glass Cannon. We're speed farming. And we're cranking these potion dungeons out as fast as we can. Now on wave 2, Royal Guard tends to use his takedown ability pretty inefficiently. So boom, they're all almost dead, yeah. And then he does his takedown, which he hits them all for like 1,000. So he really wastes it there. It's just kind of the flow of the level I've noticed on wave 2 of this level. Royal Guard tends to kind of unfortunately waste his takedown. So the AI isn't perfect, but in terms of a large sample size, when you're speed farming dungeons, you'll get a lot of value. See right there, 146k. That's really good against a boss, you know, to hit for that hard. And there we go. So, and then also, probably the area the Royal Guard is most used is the Dragon. Because the Dragon is kind of like a DPS race. So you're really trying to crank out as much damage as you can. So he brings the aura, and then he brings that takedown ability. So I will show you Royal Guard in my Dragon 20 team. So, you know, this guide was probably one of my more commonly requested guides in terms of epic champions for sure, because Royal Guard is just very generally useful, and it can help you progress in a lot of dungeons and a lot of situations. So that's why, you know, this video may be a little bit longer than some of my champion guides, because I want to show you me utilizing Royal Guard, you know, even in the end game in a lot of these dungeons. So there we go. You can see we're able to get to the dragon in 30 seconds. And then depending on, you know, the RNG, my dragon runs can be anywhere from like 55 to a minute 20. It just kind of depends on how the abilities break down in terms of the order that the champions are kind of doing things and how hard they hit and all those different roles. And there we have it. 1 minute, and the Royal Guard doing a good job there. Speed and crit damage, that's not bad. Alrighty, so that's going to kind of do it for this video. And, you know, if you have any questions, drop it down in the comments. I'll do my best to help you out. And remember, I do have that infographic down in the video description if you want to be able to pull it up and kind of take a look at all of the information regarding Royal Guard in that one little graphic. And yeah, as always, thank you for watching. Have a good rest of your day. Peace.